Welcome to Cover, our guide to the Sikh and Punjabi books that you need to read. This week we're taking a look at the Khalsa over 300 years, a book which we have in its softcover edition. This book was published in 1999 to celebrate the tercentenary of the Khalsa Panth, so 300 years since the founding of the Khalsa at the first Vaisakhi. The book was commissioned by the Indian History Congress, which is a national organization that has over 10,000 members on the subcontinent, all dealing with the topic of history. Each year, the Indian History Congress holds an annual session, and at this session, particular papers are presented by different academics. This book takes 27 papers pertaining to Sikh studies and Sikh history that have been presented from anywhere between 1938 to 1989, edited by J.S.Grewal and Indu Banga, but was compiled by a number of different people from within the Indian History Congress. Let's take a look inside at some of the different papers. Looking down the contents, it's actually very difficult to try and select a few of the standout papers because each of the 27 papers presented in this publication are of great interest and quite fascinating reads in themselves. Similarly, looking down the list of authors of each paper is like reading a who's who of 20th century Sikh studies historians. Naturally, these include the two editors themselves, Indu Banga and J.S.Grewal, but also include the likes of Gurtej Singh, Sitaram Kohli, and Dr. Ganda Singh. Some of the topics that might be of interest to you include the major sources of early Sikh history by Dr. Ganda Singh, which is of immense relevance to anybody who is an amateur or professional enthusiast or academic looking at the history of Sikhi. Similarly, Rise of the Sikh Power as seen through the eyes of Ratan Singh Pangu by Gurtej Singh is quite an interesting read. Akali Congress Corporation during the Akali movement by Mahinder Singh is an interesting paper. Similarly, The Sikhs and the Prospect of Pakistan by Indu Banga and Towards the Punjabi Speaking State by S.S. Bal are quite fascinating reads that viewers of Cover to Cover will want to look at. We have the contents at the front of the book quite clearly stating the title of each article followed by the author, but then we have a second section of acknowledgements which mirrors the contents but tells us at which particular session of the Indian History Congress this paper was presented, which is quite important because it starts to tell you the time period of when a paper was being produced. And that in itself actually tells us a lot about each one of the papers that appears. Reading each individual paper is not just an insight into the time period and subject matter that is its content, but also tells us a great deal about the author, the academic, and some of the biases that they may have had, particularly when you know the time period at which they were presenting their paper to the Indian History Congress. The book closes with a select bibliography that is split into different time periods, as well as giving a general bibliography, although that's quite short, as well as a number of published articles and periodicals. Finally, we have 2 or 3 lines on each particular author that features in this book, just telling us what their position or most prominent position in academia was, as well as 1 or 2 of their most prominent publications in their own right. The Khalsa Over 300 Years is a must-have book for anyone interested in Sikh studies and whatnot, purely because of the range of material that it covers. The number of authors included in it is quite respectable, and as I've already said, it tells us a story behind the story. As well as telling us about the subject matter of each individual paper, it is actually telling us about how at a certain time certain historians thought and wanted to present to their fellow colleagues in academia on a particular topic. But we want to know what you think, so please leave a comment below and make sure you subscribe to continue watching Cover to Cover, our guide to the Sikh and Punjabi books that you need to read.